There comes a moment in every life when silence becomes unbearable. When you realize the version of you that brought you here cannot take you any further. You feel it. The weight of wasted time. The echo of fears you never faced. And the truth whispering, you were never meant to live this small. This isn't just motivation. This is transformation. Because from this moment, the weak version of you dies. And the rebirth begins. Welcome. To kill the weak version of yourself, rebirth starts now. A journey not for the faint, but for the ones who are done living average. You've been running from yourself for years, haven't you? You hide behind distractions, fake goals, fake people, fake smiles, hoping the noise will drown the quiet truth that never stops whispering. You're becoming weaker every day you avoid your own potential. The truth is brutal, but it's the only way to rise. You cannot become strong while protecting the parts of you that are destroying you. Every morning you wake up, two versions of you rise. One is driven by fear, it wants comfort, validation, safety. The other is born of power, it wants freedom, greatness, purpose. And every single day, one of them dies. Most people feed the weak version. They feed it with excuses. They feed it with tomorrow. They feed it with soft choices that feel right now but cost everything later. You see, life doesn't destroy the weak. It just gives them what they ask for: comfort, average, regret. It's a slow death, no explosion, no fire, just a quiet fade. That's what's happening to millions of people who never looked in the mirror and said, enough. Here's the part no one wants to hear. Your success, your peace, your future, it won't come from adding new habits. It'll come from killing the habits that built the weak version of you. You want wealth? Kill the part of you that wastes time on gossip. You want confidence? Kill the part that needs approval. You want power? Kill the part that fears discomfort. Because everything you dream about is guarded by pain. And pain is not your enemy. It's the initiation fee. The moment you stop running from it, the moment you decide, let it hurt, but let it build me, that's when life starts to bend in your favor. That's when the universe whispers, finally, he's ready. You've been waiting for a sign to start. This is it. Not next week. Not next year. Now. Right here, right now, you decide who wins. The weak version, or the warrior you were born to be. Because the weak version will always have better reasons. It's clever. It'll sound logical. Take a break. You've done enough. You'll try again later. And yet every time you listen, a small piece of you dies, the part that believed you could be more. This is how most lies end, not with a bang, but with a long series of small surrenders. 1,000 tiny, I'll do it later, until later becomes never. But not you. Not anymore. Because you've seen too much. You've felt the pain of staying the same. And now you know the cost of weakness, everything you ever wanted. So tonight, make the decision that will rewrite your life. Kill the weak version of you, not gently, not slowly. End it. Burn the old script. You are not your fears. You are not your past. You are the one who decides what version lives tomorrow. The rebirth starts the moment you stop protecting the old you. And if that means pain, let it be pain. If that means loneliness, let it be lonely. Because those are the gates to freedom. When the world sees you again, you won't explain your transformation. You'll walk differently. Speak differently. Move with quiet fire. Because once you kill the weak version of yourself, you don't need to prove anything. You've already won the hardest war, the one inside your mind. This is how legends are born. Not from talent. Not from luck. From a quiet moment like this one, where a person decides, I'm done being half alive. Rebirth doesn't start when things get easy. It starts when you choose power over comfort, truth over pleasure, and growth over validation. So close your eyes for a second. See the weak version standing in front of you, tired, scared, apologetic. Now see yourself walking away. Don't argue with it. Don't justify. Just leave. Because from this moment forward, that version no longer has a say in your life. You're done negotiating with your limitations. You're done apologizing for your potential. You're done explaining why you haven't started yet. You've been reborn not as someone new, but as who you were always meant to be. The world will notice soon enough. But by then, you won't need their validation. You'll be too busy building your new empire, brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day, until one morning, you look around and realize the weak version is gone. And the only thing that remains is greatness. When you kill the weak version of yourself, the world goes silent for a while. You feel the echo of what used to be you. The habits, the comfort, the noise, all gone. And that silence can feel terrifying. Because now you're face to face with nothing. No excuses. No illusions. Just the raw blueprint of who you could become. That's where real transformation begins. Not when everything is clear, but when everything is uncertain and you still move anyway. Most people never rebuild because they confuse silence with emptiness. They think if nothing is happening, they're failing. But silence is not failure, it's construction time. Every great empire begins in a quiet mind before it appears in the real world. You're not lost. You're under reconstruction. The weak version of you used to live for noise, scrolling, comparing, chasing. The strong version thrives in stillness. Because silence is where clarity speaks. And clarity is where wealth begins. Your subconscious is listening to every thought you repeat. So start programming it like a powerful machine. Say it, even if you don't believe it yet. I am rebuilding. I am rising. I am not done. Because your brain doesn't care about what's true, it believes what it hears the most. That's why poor minds talk about problems, and wealthy minds talk about possibilities. It's not money that makes you rich, it's repetition of power. The moment you start thinking like the rich, your world begins to shift. The way you walk changes. The way you talk changes. And suddenly, opportunities you never saw before begin to appear, because now your mind is tuned to find them. You're not attracting wealth, you're aligning with it. Money isn't earned, it's attracted to clarity and power. It's drawn to people who know who they are and where they're going. Look back for a second. The old you waited for permission. The new you gives it. The old you chased validation. The new you creates value. The old you wanted to look ready. The new you just moves and becomes ready on the way. That's what rebuilding feels like, messy, uncertain, unglamorous. But every single day you wake up and choose discipline over comfort, the foundation gets stronger. You don't have to see the whole empire. You just need to lay today's brick with excellence. Because greatness is not built in a day, it's built daily. There's a line you'll hear in every success story if you listen closely. I was tired of my own excuses. That's the moment their rebirth began. Not when they got money. Not when they got support. But when they got honest. Honesty is painful because it burns the lies you built to feel safe. But it's also purifying, it leaves you clean. When you stop lying to yourself about who you are, you finally create space to become who you're meant to be. Every action you take now must answer one question. Is this feeding my power or my weakness? If it feeds your weakness, cut it. If it feeds your power, double it. That's the new rule of your life. No middle ground. No half-awake living. Total alignment or total removal. Because when you start demanding more from yourself, the world will resist. Friends will say you've changed. Family will call you distant. They'll say, you're obsessed. Let them talk. Obsession is just focus without apology. And nothing great was ever built by the comfortable. You're not becoming arrogant, you're becoming aware. Aware of how short life really is. Aware of how much you've already wasted. And aware that the clock doesn't stop for anyone. So build faster. Move stronger. Speak less. Act more. When doubt comes, and it will, remember this. You already killed the weak version. There's nothing left to fear. Failure can't kill you because you've already faced death, the death of your old self. Now every setback is just feedback, every loss just data, every rejection just redirection. You are unbreakable not because life got easier, but because you stopped expecting it to. You stopped needing external proof that you're enough. You started giving yourself permission to win. This is the mindset of the reborn. Calm. Focused. Dangerous in silence. No longer addicted to reaction, addicted to creation. Every morning you wake up, repeat this truth to your subconscious. I do not negotiate with my potential. That single sentence will rewrite your destiny. Your subconscious decides your income long before your effort does. So if you still see yourself as average, your mind will sabotage everything that exceeds that image. That's why you must re-imprint the identity of power daily. See yourself as someone who deserves wealth, health, peace, and respect, because when your self-image rises, everything else follows. You are no longer chasing success, you are becoming the kind of person success chases. And that shift, that's the real rebirth. In the coming days, things will test you. Your patience. Your focus. Your belief. But every test is a message asking, are you still that new version, or are you slipping back? Answer with action, not words. Keep building. Keep deleting what doesn't serve the mission. And remember, rebirth is not one moment. It's a daily choice to destroy the version that settles for less. One day, you'll look back and realize you didn't rebuild your life. You rebuilt yourself. And that changed everything. Pain was never your enemy. It was your first teacher. The only reason it hurts is because it's trying to move you. Move you out of comfort. Out of illusion. Out of the version of yourself that's too small for where you're meant to go. Every person you admire, every millionaire, every high performer, every self-made success learned one universal truth. Pain is not punishment. It's information. It's the language life uses to get your attention. But most people never learn how to read it. They drown in it instead. They label pain as bad, and in doing so, they miss the doorway to transformation. Here's the truth. Every time you run from discomfort, you strengthen your weakness. Every time you sit with discomfort, you strengthen your power. The weak version of you wanted escape. The new version learns endurance. Because power is not built in peace, it's built in pressure. Think about it. Diamonds are made in the same place coal breaks. The difference? How long it endures the heat. That's what emotional mastery is. Not pretending you're fine. Not forcing a smile when you're breaking inside. It's the ability to feel every emotion fully, and still move with discipline. That's the difference between people who win and people who wish. The winners still feel pain, they just use it differently. When things go wrong, they ask, what is this teaching me, instead of why me? That single question changes everything. Because when you seek meaning, pain becomes guidance. It stops being a wall and starts being a mirror. Look into it. What is your pain trying to teach you? Maybe it's teaching you boundaries. Maybe it's teaching you self-respect. Maybe it's forcing you to grow in silence, so you'll never need applause again. Pain purifies. It burns away the parts of you that were never real. The fake confidence. The shallow relationships. The need to be liked. Once you go through that fire, you come out clean, focused, detached, unbreakable. Because detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's the realization that your emotions are not commands, they're signals. You don't obey them, you interpret them. That's why emotional control is the secret weapon of the rich and powerful. When everyone else reacts, they respond. When everyone else panics, they pause. They don't move from emotion, they move from intention. And that calm energy? It's magnetic. People feel it. Opportunities flow to it. Because power always moves toward emotional stability. If your mind is chaos, your reality will mirror it. If your mind is calm, your world aligns. Most people are poor not because they lack money, but because they're emotionally bankrupt. They let their fears run their decisions, their ego guide their habits, and their doubt poison their vision. They don't need more motivation, they need more mastery. Here's how it begins. Next time you feel anger, don't suppress it. Study it. Ask yourself, what boundary did I allow to be crossed? Next time you feel anxiety, don't run from it. Observe it. Ask yourself, what truth am I avoiding? Next time you feel sadness, don't numb it. Listen to it. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that's already gone? Every emotion carries intelligence. Once you stop judging them, they start teaching you. Emotional control doesn't mean you never cry, never get hurt, or never doubt. It means you never let those emotions decide your worth again. You feel them, but you don't feed them. You experience them, but you don't become them. That's strength. That's the difference between those who crumble and those who conquer. The old you try to escape pain through distraction, social media, validation, comfort food, temporary pleasure. The new you uses pain as fuel. Every scar becomes a map. Every failure becomes data. Every heartbreak becomes wisdom. That's how you evolve. You stop asking for an easier life and start demanding a stronger mind. Because life will never stop testing you. But it will stop defeating you once you stop fighting reality. Pain doesn't ruin people. Resistance to pain does. The richest people you know aren't fearless, they just don't run anymore. They know pain is proof that something inside is shifting. Growth is always disguised as struggle. And when you understand that, everything changes. You start to look forward to the challenge. You start to smile when things get hard, because you know. The world is simply checking if you're still that new version you claim to be. This is the inner law of evolution. The universe removes your comfort to reveal your capacity. So when everything falls apart, say thank you. When people leave, say thank you. When things break, say thank you. Because you're not losing control, you're gaining alignment. Pain is the process of identity shedding. It's how the old you dies and the new you is born. You'll know you've mastered emotion when you can stand in the middle of chaos, breathe slowly, and think clearly. That calmness will confuse people. They'll expect you to react. But you'll just smile. Because they don't know you've already walked through the fire. Pain used to scare you. Now it sharpens you. Because you finally understand. Pain was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your strength. Discipline is not punishment. It's the highest form of self-respect. It's saying, I believe in my future enough to act accordingly. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they keep negotiating with the part of them that wants comfort. And every time you choose comfort over commitment, you teach your subconscious one lesson. That your feelings have more authority than your goals. That's how mediocrity is built, one emotional excuse at a time. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to work. It's about training your mind to understand that your emotions are temporary. But your vision is permanent. The weak version of you lived on emotion. The reborn version lives on execution. Because winners don't rise when they feel like it. They rise when they said they would. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers act when it's convenient. Doers act when it's required. Every successful person you've ever heard of mastered one invisible habit. They stopped giving their emotions the steering wheel. When you wake up and don't feel like it, remember this. You don't need to feel ready to be responsible. You don't need motivation, you need momentum. Because momentum creates motivation, not the other way around. The reason most people never build wealth isn't lack of opportunity. It's lack of consistency. They plant seeds and walk away before anything grows. They start something new every week and finish nothing. But the world doesn't reward starters, it rewards finishers. Discipline is the ability to stay locked on one path long enough for the compound effect to kick in. Every day you stay consistent, your brain wires itself for stability. Every day you skip, it wires itself for chaos. You are literally teaching your brain how to treat your dreams. If you show up inconsistently, your subconscious concludes your dreams don't matter. But when you show up daily, even when tired, even when uninspired, you create self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. Confidence doesn't come from looking strong, it comes from keeping promises to yourself. That's why the gym builds more than muscle, it builds character. That's why waking up early isn't about hours, it's about ownership. Every small act of discipline is a vote for the version of you you're becoming. Every moment of laziness is a vote for the version you already buried. Which one are you feeding today? The truth is, your brain craves patterns. It wants routine, it wants rhythm, it wants order. Without discipline, chaos becomes your default. But with discipline, clarity becomes your nature. There will be days when it hurts. Days when the results don't show up. Days when no one claps, no one notices, and no one cares. But those are the days that define you. Because the real work of transformation happens when nobody's watching. The strongest minds in the world didn't wake up motivated every morning. They woke up tired, doubtful, uninspired, but they still moved. They still pushed. They still did what had to be done. And that's when discipline becomes dangerous. When it no longer depends on emotion. When you've trained your mind so well that you move automatically toward greatness. That's when success stops being a choice, it becomes your identity. Every time you follow through on your word, you're rewiring your subconscious to believe that you're the kind of person who always does. And once your mind believes that, you can't lose. Because now your identity and your behavior are aligned. And alignment is power. People ask me, how do I stay disciplined when life gets hard? The answer is simple. You don't stay disciplined. You become disciplined. It's not a temporary state, it's a personality shift. You build it brick by brick, choice by choice. Until one day, you wake up and realize you no longer need motivation because action is your new normal. Discipline is freedom in disguise. The weak see it as restriction. The strong see it as liberation. Because when you are disciplined, you no longer live by impulse. You live by intention. Your mornings become sacred. Your focus becomes unshakable. Your results become inevitable. And here's the secret no one tells you. Discipline doesn't take energy, it creates it. Every time you honor your word, you feel lighter, clearer, more powerful. Because self-betrayal is exhausting, but self-mastery is energizing. You can't build an empire on mood swings. You can only build it on systems. And systems don't care how you feel, they care that you show up. Every billionaire, every champion, every legend has one invisible habit in common. They built their life around systems that made success automatic. They don't rely on good days. They rely on good habits. So here's your challenge. Pick one small action you'll do every day, no matter what. Even when tired. Even when uninspired. That's your anchor habit. It could be journaling for 10 minutes. Reading one page. Doing one workout. Because once you master consistency in one area, your brain learns how to replicate it in every area. Your life will change when you stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, what needs to be done today? That's when discipline becomes divine. Because now you're not driven by emotion, you're driven by evolution. And that's the real game. Discipline is how you prove to the universe that you're ready for more. When you show up consistently, you signal to life itself, I'm serious about my potential. And when you do that long enough, the universe starts sending you opportunities. Because it trusts you'll handle them. That's how wealth is created. Not by wishing. Not by luck. But by daily alignment with who you're becoming. So from this day forward, stop trying to feel motivated. Start building discipline. Because motivation will leave you. Discipline never will. Power doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity. It's not about being louder than others, it's about being grounded enough that you don't need to be. The weak version of you chased validation because it didn't trust its own voice. Every decision was filtered through fear. What will they think? Will they like me? Am I enough? That version of you lived like a slave to perception. But the moment you stop seeking permission, you reclaim your power. Because approval is the currency of the insecure. The powerful don't need to be liked, they need to be understood by themselves. Understand this. You can't lead your life if you're still waiting for applause. You can't build wealth if your self-worth is still rented to opinions. And you can't command respect until you respect yourself first. Real power starts when you no longer flinch in the face of disapproval. When someone disagrees, criticizes, doubts you, and your heart stays calm. That's not arrogance. That's sovereignty. The most magnetic people in the world aren't chasing attention. Attention chases them. Because power is energy, it's the vibration of certainty. When you walk into a room believing you belong, the world rearranges itself to match that belief. That's not psychology, that's physics. Energy recognizes energy. The weak version of you wanted to impress. The strong version wants to impact. The weak wanted to be seen. The strong chooses to see clearly. That's the shift from validation to vision. When you need nothing from anyone, you become irresistible. Because power attracts, desperation repels. Every time you beg for attention, you announce your emptiness. But when you move with purpose, people feel it, they trust it. You don't have to prove you're powerful. You just have to stop acting powerless. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you leak power. Every time you stay silent when you should speak, you weaken your own authority. Every time you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you betray your greatness. Power requires boundaries, not walls, but standards. And your standards teach people how to treat you. Stop apologizing for being intense. Stop softening your truth to avoid rejection. Stop dimming your light just because others can't handle its brightness. You weren't born to blend in, you were built to stand firm. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be legendary. Look around. The world doesn't reward the smartest, it rewards the boldest. It doesn't follow the perfect, it follows the certain. Certainty is rare. That's why it's powerful. And certainty doesn't mean you always know the answer. It means you trust yourself enough to figure it out. That's real confidence, not ego, but alignment. Ego says, I'm better than you. Confidence says, I'm better than who I was yesterday. When you stop competing with others, you start collaborating with your own potential. That's how true power is born, through internal competition, not external comparison. Most people think confidence comes from success. They're wrong. Confidence creates success. It's the seed, not the fruit. It's what makes you take the first step before the evidence appears. That's what the rich understand. They act before they feel ready. Because they know readiness is a myth created by fear. You can spend your whole life preparing to live. Or you can start living and let preparation happen along the way. Power doesn't wait. It decides. The moment you start saying no to distractions, you say yes to destiny. And once you stop chasing validation, you start attracting opportunities that align with your true frequency. That's how life works. You don't get what you want, you get what you embody. If you walk like you're unsure, life will test you. If you move like you're certain, life will trust you. And yes, people will be intimidated by your power. That's fine. You're not responsible for their comfort. You're responsible for your calling. Powerful people are often misunderstood because the weak see boundaries as arrogance. But those who value strength will recognize it as leadership. You weren't meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be felt by the right ones. There's something magnetic about quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Because it radiates through presence. That's the kind of power you're building. Not loud, not aggressive, but undeniable. You'll know you've reached it when you can sit in silence and still command attention. When you can walk away from chaos without explaining yourself. When you can stand alone and still feel whole. That's the moment your energy speaks louder than your words. Remember this. Power doesn't chase. Power chooses. Power doesn't beg. Power attracts. Power doesn't seek validation. Power is validation. When you realize this, you stop trying to fit into rooms that can't contain your potential. You start building your own table instead of asking for a seat. You stop trying to be impressive and start being intentional. Because when you master your presence, you master your destiny. So walk with calm. Speak with conviction. Decide with confidence. The weak version of you begged for acceptance. The reborn version commands respect through alignment. And that's the true psychology of power. To need nothing, to fear nothing, and to move like you already own the life you're building. Because once your energy says I am, the universe stops testing if you're ready. And starts responding as if you are. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't luck. It's perspective. It's not about what they have, it's about what they see. The average person looks at life and asks, what can I afford? The wealthy person asks, what's worth investing in? Same world. Different questions. And those questions determine destiny. The truth is, wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in your bank account. Your subconscious decides your income before your effort ever does. Because money is not about numbers. It's about energy. It flows to those who respect it, value it, and expect it. The poor chase money to survive. The rich attract money to expand. One lives in reaction. The other lives in creation. That's the first rule of the millionaire mindset. Stop thinking like a consumer, start thinking like a creator. The poor mind asks, what can I buy? The rich mind asks, what can I build? That's why some people work 40 years and never escape survival. They traded creativity for comfort. But comfort is a slow death. It keeps you busy enough to feel safe. And numb enough to forget your potential. Every wealthy person you admire made one dangerous decision. They stopped trading time for money. They started trading value for freedom. Understand this. Money doesn't come to the hardest worker. It comes to the smartest builder. If effort alone created wealth, every laborer would be a millionaire. But the truth is, money follows clarity, not sweat. The clearer your vision, the more magnetic your mind becomes. That's why the rich protect their focus like treasure. They know every distraction is a debt. Every wasted hour compounds against your future. The average person sells hours. The rich buy leverage. They understand the most valuable asset isn't money, it's time. And once you master time, money starts chasing you. Every rich person lives by one silent law. I don't spend time, I invest it. When you think like that, every minute has a purpose. You no longer scroll mindlessly. You no longer argue pointlessly. You no longer seek temporary pleasure at the cost of permanent peace. Because you finally realize every moment is an investment in your future self. The weak version of you used to say, I'll start when I have time. The powerful version knows, I make time because I decide what matters. That's how the rich operate, they move with intention, not reaction. They don't chase trends, they create systems. They don't seek motivation, they design habits that make motivation irrelevant. Here's another truth. The poor think short-term. The rich think long-term. The poor say, I need money now. The rich ask, what builds wealth forever? The poor look for fast results. The rich look for compounding results. That's why they invest in things that grow while they sleep. Businesses, assets, skills, reputation. Because they know. The poor work for money. The rich make money work for them. And that mindset shift, from labor to leverage, changes everything. But it doesn't start with strategy. It starts with self-image. Because your subconscious can't create what your identity rejects. If you still see yourself as broke, you'll find a way to stay broke. If you still see wealth as for others, your mind will sabotage every opportunity that brings it close. Your brain is loyal to your identity, not your dreams. That's why every millionaire's first investment is internal. They reprogram their self-worth. They stop saying, "I can't afford it," and start asking, "How can I afford it?" That one shift turns problems into puzzles. And puzzles create possibilities. Money responds to power. Power comes from belief. And belief comes from repetition. So every day, repeat this truth until your subconscious believes it. I am worthy of wealth. I am a magnet for opportunity. I am building something greater than myself. Because your words are blueprints. They design the structure your future will live in. Another secret. Rich people aren't afraid to lose money. They're afraid to lose momentum. They know every risk is a teacher. Every failure, feedback. Every setback, a setup for expansion. The poor say, "I can't risk it." The rich say, "I can't afford not to risk it." That's not arrogance, that's awareness. Because they understand money loves movement. Stagnation kills abundance. You can't attract flow by standing still. You have to step into uncertainty with strategy, faith, and confidence. That's how you earn the trust of the universe, through courage. And courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move despite it. You'll know you're thinking like the wealthy when your priorities change. When peace becomes more important than approval. When growth becomes more important than pleasure. When ownership becomes more important than security. That's when you stop existing and start expanding. You no longer ask, "How can I survive this month?" You start asking, "How can I create something that lives beyond me?" That's the difference between income and impact. Income fades. Impact multiplies. The millionaire mindset isn't about greed. It's about freedom. Freedom from anxiety. Freedom from limitation. Freedom to live, give, and build without fear. And once your mind operates from that frequency, money stops being the goal. It becomes the byproduct of who you've become. Because when you embody value, the world can't help but reward you for it. The millionaire mindset is simple. You are the asset. You are the brand. You are the investment. Protect your focus. Guard your energy. And remember, money isn't the prize. Clarity is. Because once you think like the rich, the world begins to bend in your favor. There's one thing that separates the successful from the broken, the strong from the weak. How they respond to fear. You see, everyone feels fear. But not everyone obeys it. Fear is the invisible cage that keeps billions of people trapped inside mediocrity. It whispers in your ear, "What if you fail?" And most people listen. But here's the truth you were never taught. Fear isn't a signal to stop. It's a signal to rise. The weak version of you uses fear as an excuse. The powerful version uses it as fuel. Because fear isn't your enemy, it's your invitation. It shows up every time you stand near your next level. The question is, will you step forward or step back? The rich and powerful don't lack fear. They've just trained their nervous system to act in spite of it. They've built a mental muscle called resilience. It's not born from comfort, it's forged in uncertainty. Every risk, every rejection, every failure, it sharpens that muscle. You've been told to be careful. You've been told to play safe. But safety is just another word for smallness. And you are not built to live small. Think about it, everything you want exists on the other side of risk. Freedom. power, wealth, impact. None of these exist inside your comfort zone. The poor mindset avoids risk to stay comfortable. The rich mindset embraces risk to stay alive. Because life rewards courage, not caution. Look at every empire ever built. It began with one person willing to risk being misunderstood. One person who decided that regret was more painful than failure. That's the difference between those who talk and those who transform. Let me tell you something powerful. The universe hides your blessings behind fear to test your hunger. If it gave everything easily, everyone would have it. But that's not how greatness works. You earn expansion through discomfort. You earn freedom through resistance. You earn peace by walking through chaos and refusing to break. The truth is, the world doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. And strength isn't built in easy times. It's built when you feel like quitting but decide not to. Most people let fear freeze them. Winners let fear focus them. That's what makes the difference. When life gets hard, the average person collapses into panic. The rich person gets calm. Because calm is control. And control attracts clarity. Clarity is what allows you to move powerfully when everyone else is paralyzed. That's why rich people seem lucky. They're not lucky, they're clear. They see what others miss because their mind isn't clouded by fear. You can't make powerful decisions from panic. You can only make them from presence. And presence is trained through discipline, solitude, and self-respect. So if you want to build an empire, learn to be still in the storm. When chaos hits, breathe. When fear rises, observe it. When pressure builds, smile, because pressure only forms diamonds. Your subconscious mind listens to your behavior more than your words. Every time you choose courage over comfort, it learns. I am safe even when I'm scared. I am powerful even when I'm unsure. I am in control even when things fall apart. And that belief becomes armor. Not arrogance. Not ego. Armor that protects your peace while the world shakes around you. The rich train their minds for chaos because chaos is where the weak quit. They know that in chaos lies opportunity, unguarded, untouched, waiting for the bold. That's why during crises, some go broke. And others build fortunes. It's not about timing, it's about temperament. The one who keeps his emotions steady wins the game. Because money doesn't flow to panic, it flows to power. You don't get rich by reacting fast. You get rich by responding wisely. Fear makes you impulsive. Wisdom makes you intentional. That's why emotional control is the ultimate wealth skill. Not business. Not strategy. Emotional control. Because a calm mind can turn chaos into opportunity, but a panicked mind will turn opportunity into chaos. You want to know how to become unstoppable? Stop letting emotions dictate your execution. You'll still feel fear. But you'll stop feeding it. The moment you stop feeding fear, it starts starving. And when fear starves, freedom grows. You'll realize you were never afraid of failure. You were afraid of judgment. You were afraid of what people would say if you lost. But once you stop needing approval, failure becomes freedom. You'll try things faster. You'll learn quicker. You'll expand endlessly. That's how powerful people move, they act, adjust, and ascend. No waiting for permission. No seeking validation. Just pure execution. Remember this. The universe never rewards hesitation. It rewards motion. Fear delays. Faith decides. And every decision you make from faith rewires your mind for greatness. So when fear shows up next time, don't run. Stand tall. Breathe deeply. Smile slightly. And whisper, "You're just proof I'm growing." Because that's all fear ever was, proof that you're standing at the border between your old life and your new one. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel alive. And once you understand that, Nothing will ever control you again. Fear becomes feedback. Failure becomes data. Pain becomes growth. And you become unbreakable. That's the energy of the powerful. That's the mindset of the wealthy. That's the rebirth of the new you. There comes a moment in every person's life when silence hits different. When you stop running, stop chasing, stop pretending. And you finally stand face to face with yourself. No noise. No excuses. Just you and the reflection of who you've been. It's uncomfortable. Because for the first time, you see all of it. The lies you told yourself. The chances you didn't take. The fears that shaped your choices. But here's the truth you must accept before you rise. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. The weak version of you has lived rent-free in your soul for too long. It's the voice that tells you, stay small. It's the habit that chooses comfort over greatness. It's the pattern that repeats failure because it fears change. But today, that version dies. Not with pain. With awareness. Because rebirth isn't destruction. It's awakening. You don't destroy the old you, you outgrow it. You stop feeding what no longer serves you. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop dimming your light to make others comfortable in their shadows. You start walking like you deserve to win, because you do. You start thinking like the rich, clear, calm, certain. Because wealth is not what you chase, it's what you attract when you become whole. The rebirth begins the moment you say, I am done being my own enemy. That's when power enters your body. That's when the air feels heavier, because purpose has weight. You begin to feel alive again. Because you realize the struggle was never against the world, it was always against yourself. The fight was never between you and success. It was between you and your comfort. Comfort was killing you slowly, while calling itself peace. But you've seen too much now. You can't go back. You can't unsee the truth that your life is yours to command. So you rise. Not with anger, but with clarity. Not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove yourself right. Because the new version of you doesn't chase recognition, it commands respect. It doesn't wait for opportunity, it creates it. It doesn't seek validation, it radiates self-worth. You become your own source. Your own reminder. Your own revolution. And as you walk through life now, you start to see how everything was designed perfectly, even the pain. Every loss was a lesson. Every delay was direction. Every heartbreak was a reset. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear. Not one failure. Not one lonely night. They were all carving you into the version the universe needed you to become. That's the real secret of rebirth. You don't build the new you from scratch. You remember who you were before fear taught you to forget. That's why it feels like coming home. Because it is. It's the home inside your soul that was always waiting for you to return. And once you arrive, you start living differently. You stop talking like a victim and start thinking like a visionary. You stop fearing mistakes because you finally understand mistakes are how you grow faster than everyone else. You stop trying to escape pain and start extracting wisdom from it. That's what the rich, powerful, and peaceful have mastered. They don't run from their past, they recycle it into purpose. They take the same emotions that broke them and turn them into fuel. Pain becomes fire. Doubt becomes drive. Fear becomes focus. Because nothing can stop a person who uses everything. You want to know the secret to transformation? It's not motivation. It's decision. The moment you decide, truly decide, the old life dies instantly. That's why change feels sudden but takes years to prepare for. Because the moment you say, enough, your subconscious aligns. Your habits begin to shift. Your thoughts begin to evolve. And your energy begins to attract differently. People will feel it before you speak. They'll sense something powerful about you. A quiet confidence, a glow, a calm authority. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. It's what happens when your mind, heart, and purpose finally stop fighting each other and start moving as one. That's wealth. That's power. That's peace. So from this moment on, stop trying to fix your old life. It's gone. You've outgrown it. Stop trying to explain your growth to people who benefit from your stagnation. They won't understand, and that's okay. You weren't reborn to convince them. You were reborn to lead yourself. Every time you doubt, remember this. You have already survived everything that was meant to destroy you. You've already proven that you are built for storms. So now build from power, not from pain. Walk like you belong in every room you enter. Speak like your words can move worlds. Think like a creator, not a consumer. Act like the universe is on your side, because it is. And every morning when you wake up, say this silently. I am not who I was yesterday. I am the upgraded version of myself. I am clear. I am powerful. I am free. That is your new identity. Not a wish, a declaration. Because the rebirth doesn't start when the world believes in you. It starts when you do. So go. Burn the old scripts. Break the mental chains. And step into the light that was always yours. The weak version of you is gone. The new you. The focused, fearless, financially free you has arrived. This is your rebirth. And it starts now. If you've reached this point, you're not the same person who started listening. You've faced your fears. You've buried your doubts. You've rebuilt your mind from chaos into clarity. Remember, rebirth isn't an event. It's a lifestyle. Every day you rise stronger, clearer, calmer. The world won't understand your silence now. Because it's no longer confusion. It's focus. This was your awakening. But your real power begins when you start living it. Narrator, final line, almost a whisper. The weak version of you is gone, the new you has arrived.